Hey everyone, Sunalical here. Like many of you, I've been trying out all the new events and additions that the 2.0 anniversary patch has to offer. But there was one event that was kinda weird. Specifically, the Dreamland Starwish Fireworks event that's time gated. And then, while participating in the event, a fellow meta named LunaDX asked the most important question ever asked about this event. How do you do this? It got me thinking, how do you do this? The instructions aren't that clear. Heck, once maintenance was complete, most of us were stuck ground humping after simply performing a heavy melee attack. Thankfully that was fixed fast. It almost ruined the holidays. No one knows what even is this event. How even is this event? Where even is this event? Are we this event? So I talked to an NPC and they told me everything. So from what they told me, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 8, 9, and 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the event will begin. Now the event will last for 10 minutes, and honestly, it feels a little bit too long. But it makes sense, since the lobby that you're stuck with has to work together to trigger each of the milestones. Which brings us to the next instruction. Once everyone's arrived at the event area, a player will randomly be selected and illuminated, which just means that they'll start glowing. The illuminated player will try to spread it by just walking around other players that aren't illuminated or glowing. By doing this, it'll fill up the bar at the top right, which will unlock milestones which will force loot crates to spawn. More on this later. Finally, there are two different types of loot crates, gold and silver. Gold offers better rewards than silver loot crates do, but the gold ones will spawn less frequently. Additionally, you only can loot 15 loot crates total, and then you have to wait for the weekly reset. Now I'm assuming that the reset would be at maintenance, which is Wednesday or Thursday depending upon what time zone you live in. So first things first, where do the loot crates even spawn at during this event? Well, they'll just spawn in the main plaza area, near the fountain. As you can see, it's a waste of time to check on the other levels since the crates won't spawn up there. So as you're running around, you might notice that you'll get an invite. You want to accept these. This is how a player that has the illuminate or the glowy effect will spread the illuminate to everyone else and overall reach the next milestone. When players accept, this will fill up the bar on the top right corner. Now there's nothing really that tells us how much gold crates will increase the reward by, but it does show us what we can get within each box. Some loot box keys, tokens to trade for items in the loot boxes, some tickets for the minigame, and Starcrum. So for this week, I was lucky enough to open 10 gold crates. I noticed that they spawn around 5 to maybe 10 gold crates every milestone unlocked. This gives you plenty of time to try to grab them, and they usually spawn in the same areas. Unfortunately, the only thing I really received was Starcrum. I did get some worthless tickets for the minigame, but I don't want to talk about that. As you can see from the clip, you get 122 more Starcrum from each gold crate versus the silver ones. Also keep in mind that there's a maximum of 15 chests we can loot each week. And the in-game tracker is bugged, so you have to keep track of them. So that means the most optimal plan is to prioritize gold crates every single day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, unless it's Sunday and the last event at 10 o'clock. But if you do find yourself at the last event on Sunday at 10 o'clock, you might as well just open as many crates as you can. Now some of you might be wondering, since the in-game tracker is bugged, does that mean you can loot infinitely? The answer is no. Here's a clip of me trying to loot more chests after hitting the weekly cap. Notice the Starcrum. It does not change even though it does appear that I could loot it. Also, one more thing I want to highlight. Definitely check the fountain area. Gold crates can spawn there, and because of the new texture and graphics update, a lot of people overlook this area, and there's tons of crates, even though the event's almost over. Anyways, I guess we answered everything. So now you should be ready. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from wherever you're at. And remember, you matter. Bye bye.